Can you tell me this where Delmar Barry lives? My name is John Rambo. We served on the same team together in Nam.
Died last summer. He died.
What? Died how?
Cancer. Brought it back from Nam.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vent.
What the hell's going on?
Sheriff, come in, go.
Golf, come in, goddammit!
Over there, dummy.
Christ, look! Oh, no, shh. What?
Spread out, damn it. I said 50 feet.
This way.
I could have killed them all. I could have killed you. Don't push it.
Possessed God in heaven to make a man like Rambo.
God didn't make Rambo. I made him.
Who the hell are you?
Colonel Samuel Trotman.
I wonder why the Pentagon would send a full-bird colonel down here to handle this.
I've come to get my boy.
Your boy?
I recruited him. I trained him. I commanded him in Vietnam for 3 years.
Rambo's a civilian now. He's my problem.
You don't seem to want to accept the fact that you're dealing with an expert in guerrilla warfare. Well, Rambo was the best. Rambo, don't do it. Drop your weapon. You've done enough damage. This mission is over. Look at him out there. If you don't end this now, they're going to kill you. It's over.
Nothing is over! Nothing!
It was a bad time for everyone, Rambo.
And I did what I had to do to win, but somebody wouldn't let us win. Then I come back to the world, and I see all those maggots at the airport protesting me, spitting, calling me baby killer and all kinds of vile crap. Ah! I can't. Oh. Jeez.
It's a long road.
John Rambo, a Vietnam veteran, arrives at a lakeside settlement on the outskirts of Washington. His goal is to find a fellow team member from the Vietnam War. However, the civilians in the settlement inform Rambo that the person he's looking for has passed away due to cancer after returning from Vietnam. Upon hearing this news, Rambo leaves the area. Elsewhere, a local police officer named Will prepares for his routine patrol to maintain city security. While on patrol, Will encounters Rambo on the streets, who appears to be homeless. Will is concerned that Rambo might cause trouble in the city. After learning that Rambo is heading north, Will offers him a ride. Hungry, Rambo asks Will about the nearest place to eat. Will replies that there is no dining place in the area and expresses his disapproval of Rambo's presence, considering him a potential troublemaker. At a crossroads, Will drops off Rambo and tells him that his destination is straight ahead. Rambo realizes that Will gave him a ride just to get him out of the city. After realizing this, Rambo heads back towards the town. Will, seeing Rambo return to town, approaches him. Will conducts a check as if Rambo were a criminal and finds a knife hidden in Rambo's clothes.
Good morning, Arthur.
Morning, Will.
Rambo is arrested and handed over to Will's colleague named Arthur. Will asks Arthur to detain Rambo due to uncooperative behavior and possession of a sharp weapon during the interrogation. During the search at the police station, officers find a necklace on Rambo that identifies him as an American soldier. Will asks the officers to clean Rambo up before taking him to court the next day.
What's the matter, Mitch? Don't you like water sports?
After the cleaning, officers plan to shave Rambo's hair. However, upon seeing the razor, Rambo recalls his past in Vietnam, being tortured, and he rebels, assaulting the officers and successfully escaping with a stolen motorcycle. Meanwhile, Will seeks assistance to pursue Rambo, and the chase continues into hilly terrain. Will approaches Rambo, but his car slips and overturns. At the same time, Rambo's motorcycle also overturns while attempting to climb a hill. With no other option, Rambo continues his escape on foot through the hills. Will and his team start hunting Rambo using tracking dogs. Rambo is forced to stop as the path he takes is blocked by a cliff. Rambo tries another path, but Will and his team get closer. With no other options, Rambo is forced to descend the cliff to hide. Arthur in a helicopter spots Rambo hiding on the cliff. Arthur instructs the helicopter pilot to approach to shoot Rambo. Without any choice, Rambo decides to jump from the edge of the cliff to avoid being shot by Arthur. Although successfully saving himself after the jump from the cliff, Rambo is still pursued by Arthur, who is trying to kill him. When Arthur shoots at Rambo hiding behind a tree, Rambo takes a stone and throws it at the helicopter. The pilot is startled and evades, causing Arthur to fall from the helicopter and die on the spot. Rambo immediately approaches Arthur's body to take his coat and weapons, then continues his escape. At the same time, Will and his team arrive at the edge of the cliff and see Arthur covered in blood.
Oh, no. Shh.
Will and his team descend, then contact their other colleagues, requesting a helicopter to evacuate Arthur's body. However, their colleagues inform them that their helicopter has left due to an incoming storm. Will's colleague also informs him that Rambo is not just an ordinary person. Rambo is a Vietnam veteran who has received an honor medal as a war hero. Upon hearing this news, Will falls silent. One of Will's subordinates suggests that Will let the state police handle Rambo, but Will gets angry at his subordinate and insists on continuing to hunt Rambo due to his involvement in Arthur's murder.
Those Green Berets, they're real badasses.
And I'm gonna pin that Congressional Medal of Honor to his liver.
In the forest, Rambo is ready to face Will and his team with combat experience and guerrilla warfare tactics. Meanwhile, Will and his team enter the forest to hunt Rambo. With his guerrilla tactics, Rambo successfully kills all of Will's tracking dogs.
Jesus. He's got a gun.
After losing the tracking dogs, Will and his team struggle to detect Rambo's presence around them. With guerrilla tactics, Rambo incapacitates one of Will's subordinates one by one until he finally ambushes Will. Holding a knife, Rambo states that he can kill Will and all of his subordinates, asking Will to let him go to avoid any harm.
I could have killed them all. I could have killed you.
Sometime later, the state police and the Washington National Guard medical team arrive to evacuate Will's injured team. Television journalists cover the incident. A police captain named Dev faces Will and asks him to let the state police take over Rambo's case. Will refuses, stating that he will continue hunting Rambo. Will also wonders why God created a killing machine like Rambo. Suddenly, a colonel named Sam answers Will's question, revealing that God did not create Rambo. He recruited, trained, and assigned him to Vietnam for 3 years. Will remained convinced that Rambo, now just an ordinary civilian, could be captured with the help of the National Guard and state police. Will asked Colonel Sam to communicate with Rambo through a radio call since Rambo had taken Arthur's radio.
Locked. Every highway, road, every fire break. Hey, Don. Thanks for bringing your people.
State police calling John Rambo. Acknowledge.
In his hiding place, Rambo heard the radio call and recognized Colonel Sam's call sign. Rambo accepted the radio call. Colonel Sam asked Rambo to surrender for the greater good, but Rambo refused. Rambo declared that he came to the town only to find food, but the police treated him as a criminal. Will and his team managed to track Rambo's location in the forest.
Still reading me?
All right, now look, Don. I want you to stretch a skirmish line right across this.
The next day, the National Guard was deployed to apprehend Rambo. Unbeknownst to them, Rambo was aware of their movements. As Rambo fled into the forest, he encountered a boy who was hunting. Rambo captured the boy, discarded his weapon, and let him go. However, the boy shouted to his friends that he had seen the person the police were looking for. His friends fired shots, and the National Guard, hearing the gunfire, learned of Rambo's location and immediately pursued him.
There he is! Come on!
Now we got him!
Keep firing!
The National Guard reported to Will that they had found Rambo's hiding place. Will asked the National Guard to surround the location and not take any action until he arrived. Sometime later, the leader of the National Guard gave Rambo 30 seconds to come out of his hiding place and surrender. However, Rambo ignored the order, considering the National Guard as murderers. The leader of the National Guard decided to blow up Rambo's hiding place.
Just let me get out of the way first. Give that man a cigar! Bullseye!
Will and Sam, who had just arrived at the location, were shocked to see Rambo's hiding place already destroyed by the National Guard. While the National Guard posed for photos, they believed they had successfully killed Rambo. However, in his destroyed hiding place, Rambo was still alive, armed with a torch he had crafted. Rambo walked through the corridors to find a way out. Outside, Will looked very angry, convinced that Rambo was dead at the hands of the National Guard. Will then left to return to his office. After walking through the corridors for a considerable distance, Rambo finally found a way out at the edge of the forest. Rambo saw a convoy of military trucks passing by, jumped onto one of the military trucks, and seized it. Shortly after, a passing police patrol car met the truck driver. The truck driver informed the police patrol that Rambo was still alive and being pursued. Rambo successfully disabled the police patrol car. When Rambo reached a bridge, he saw that he was blocked by several police officers. With no other option, Rambo had to force his way through the police officers. That night, Rambo intentionally blew up the city's gas station with the military truck he was driving. Seeing the massive explosion, Will immediately ordered his subordinates to go to the explosion site. Meanwhile, he announced to the civilians through the loudspeaker, asking them not to leave their homes for safety until further instructions. Shortly after, Colonel Sam approached Will and asked him to end it all while there was still a chance. However, Will refused and insisted on killing Rambo with his own hands. Will climbed to the roof of his office to observe Rambo's movements. Meanwhile, Rambo continued his actions and cut off some of the city's electricity. After cutting off some of the electricity in the city, Rambo went to Will's office. Inside Will's office, Rambo successfully shot Will. When Rambo was about to kill Will, Colonel Sam arrived and stopped Rambo's action. Colonel Sam tried to stop Rambo, who had caused a lot of damage. Outside, the police had surrounded the place, and if Rambo did not surrender, they would surely kill him. However, Rambo didn't care and would still fight them all. Rambo said that they started it, and they would face the consequences. Rambo also expressed his disappointment in Colonel Sam because out there, the community treated him unfairly. Returning from the battlefield, everyone scorned him and called him a murderer. Despite losing many friends on the battlefield while trying to win and serve the country, he couldn't get a job even as a parking attendant. His visit to the town was just to find food, but people regarded him as a homeless person and even called him a murderer. Hearing all of Rambo's expressions of disappointment, Colonel Sam could only remain silent, and in the end, Rambo was arrested by the police and directly escorted by Colonel Sam.
It's a long
Set against the backdrop of 1981, the second year of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, the Afghan residents were leading peaceful lives in their village. However, it didn't take long for Soviet forces to attack the Afghan plains, bringing with them Soviet armored vehicles. They indiscriminately attacked the settlements, resulting in the deaths of many Afghan residents. Afghan women tried to resist, attacking one of the Soviet tanks with stones, but their efforts were futile as the Soviet troops had tear gas bombs that successfully repelled them. Soviet soldiers also shot livestock belonging to Afghan residents. Moreover, they poisoned wells and destroyed the homes of the residents. The village leader, named Sajiman, who was also a mujahideen, managed to throw a Molotov cocktail at one of the Soviet tanks. However, shortly afterward, the Soviet forces captured him. Major Daskal, the commander of the Soviet ground forces, ordered his subordinates to kill Sajiman by crushing him with a tank. Afghan women came and asked the Soviet soldiers to release Sajiman. One Soviet soldier named Samad, an Afghanistan descendant who was pro-Russia, could only hold back Sajiman's prospective wife named Sharina. Major Daskal immediately instructed Private Koverchenko, the tank operator, to crush Sajiman.
Do it, Koverchenko.
After executing Sajiman, the tank carrying Major Daskal joined the convoy of tanks that had already gone towards Kandahar. However, due to a wrong map reading at the intersection, Major's tank mistakenly turned towards the Jaikal Valley from the hills. A group of mujahideen led by Mustafa was waiting for the tank carrying Major Daskal. Meanwhile, another group of mujahideen led by Touch, Sajiman's brother, had just arrived in the village and was shocked to see that their village was already destroyed. Shortly after, Mustafa's group visited the village to inform Touch's group that one of the tanks that had destroyed the village had strayed towards the Jaikal Valley. Mustafa offered cooperation to Touch and asked Touch's uncle, named Akbar, to hunt down the lost Soviet tank and share the spoils of war. Touch initially refused to collaborate due to a previous dispute within their group. However, Sharina, Sajiman's prospective wife, persuaded Touch to unite for avenging Sajiman's death. Eventually, they agreed to work together to destroy the Soviet forces. The tank carrying Major Daskal was still on the move. They were unaware that they had strayed until they stopped momentarily to recheck the travel route. Since their radio was damaged by a Molotov cocktail and the partially burned map, they had to guess the correct direction toward Kandahar. Shortly after, a group of mujahideen arrived and attacked them. However, Major Daskal and his subordinates managed to move away from the attacking mujahideen. The Mujahideen group continued to hunt the tank carrying Major Daskal. During their pursuit, they found a water puddle, but it turned out that the water had been poisoned by Major Daskal. One person from the Mujahideen group fell victim to the poisoning. From a distance, Major Daskal's tank was ready to attack the Mujahideen group, but when they were about to fire the tank cannon, it malfunctioned. Major Daskal and his subordinates quickly exited the tank as they feared it might explode. However, after waiting for quite some time, their tank did not explode. Major Daskal and his subordinates returned to their tank. When they were ready to shoot again, the Mujahideen group had already left. Major Daskal and his subordinates then continued their journey.
Get us out of here, Koverchenko.
On that night, Major Daskal and his subordinates rested in a place, waiting for morning before continuing their journey. During this time, Sema informed Koverchenko about 3 obligations highly regarded by the people of Afghanistan. Even the people of Afghanistan must forgive enemies who seek forgiveness by saying Nana Watai without exception. Hearing this, Koverchenko was impressed with the manners and ethics of the Afghan people. Shortly after, the Mujahideen group managed to find them and immediately attacked them from the hills. But once again, Mayor Daskal and his subordinates managed to escape with their tank. In the morning, Mayor Daska and his subordinates stopped at the riverbank, where Samad was praying. Suddenly, Mayor Daskal ordered to measure the depth of the river. Samad felt angry because Mayor Daskal did not order other soldiers and instead disturbed his worship. But Mayor Daskal insisted that Samad check the depth of the river. As Samad moved into the river, Mayor Daskal suddenly shot him. Other soldiers were shocked by what Mayor Daskal had done. It turned out that Mayor Daskal believed that Samad was a traitor who had revealed their location to the Mujahideen group. After that, Mayor Daskal and his remaining subordinates crossed the river with their tank. After crossing a river, their tank experienced minor damage. Mayor Daskal approached Kovarchenko, who was chatting with a soldier named Kaminsky at that time. Kovarchenko informed Mayor Daskal about Kaminsky's opinion, suggesting it would be better to abandon the tank and walk to Kandahar. Mayor Daskal then asked for Kovarchenko's opinion regarding Kaminsky's statement. Kovarchenko replied that he preferred to surrender because sooner or later, with the tank in its current condition, they would be captured by the Mujahideen group. Hearing this, Mayor Daskal calmed down and considered Kovarchenko also a traitor. Therefore, Mayor Daskal ordered Kaminsky to tie Kovarchenko to a large rock. After that, they left Kovarchenko alone in another place. Elsewhere, Akbar was approached by Sharina, who led the women to help fight against the Soviet forces. However, Akbar forbade them and ordered the women to return to the village. Meanwhile, Mayor and his remaining subordinates finally saw a convoy of tanks showing dust from a distance. But suddenly, Mayor Daskal asked Kaminsky to stop their tank because the path they took was blocked by a ravine. On the way back to the village, the Afghan women found Kovarchenko tied up. They immediately threw stones at Kovarchenko, venting their anger. Shortly after, the Mujahideen arrived and immediately stopped the actions of the Afghan women. Kovarchenko immediately repeated the words Nana Watide multiple times as an expression of begging for forgiveness. Hearing this, the Mujahideen fell silent. Sharina asked the Mujahideen to still kill Kovarchenko, but the Mujahideen said that if they did not obey their customs, they would be no different from the Soviet people. Then, Touch released Kovarchenko from his bindings.
No, Day. No.
That night, the Mujahideen took Kovarchenko to a cave as a hiding place. While there, Touch asked Kovarchenko to fix their damaged RPG. In no time, Kovarchenko successfully repaired the RPG. The Mujahideen then signaled Kovarchenko to help them destroy the Soviet tanks because Touch also knew that Kovarchenko had been abandoned by his comrades. Kovarchenko agreed to help the Mujahideen destroy the Soviet tanks. Hearing this, the Mujahideen felt that Kovarchenko was someone sent by God to help them defeat the Soviet forces. The tank carrying Mayor Daskal stopped due to running out of fuel. But not long after, a Soviet helicopter approached them. Mayor Daskal and his remaining subordinates were very happy because finally, they could return safely. The two subordinates quickly ran to board the landing helicopter. However, Mayor Daska chose to return home with the tank because he did not want to abandon his tank. The helicopter pilot warned Mayor Daskal that the only way out of the Jekyll Valley was the intersection where they got lost before. Therefore, Mayor Daskal had to return to that intersection. and unexpectedly, Mayor Daskell ordered his 2 subordinates to accompany him and take a little fuel from the helicopter. If not, he would shoot them all in the air.
Jesus, what an asshole.
Mayor Daskell continued to order his subordinates to drive their tank nonstop. Eventually, Kaminsky mentioned that the tank's engine was overheating and the radiator needed water. After traveling a considerable distance, they encountered the Soviet helicopter crew who had died from poisoning after drinking the water previously poisoned by Mayor Daskell. Not long after, Mayor Daskell saw the Mujahideen approaching them from a distance. He also spotted Kovarchenko among the Mujahideen. Mayor immediately ordered his subordinates to prepare for the impending battle. However, due to the tank overheating, they had difficulty starting it. As the Mujahideen approached, the tank's engine finally started, and Mayor Daskell managed to escape.
I got it, sir!
The Mujahideen continued their pursuit of Mayor Daskell's tank. Kovarchenko and Touch were at the forefront, leading the Mujahideen in chasing the tank carrying Mayor Daskell. Because the tank's engine was too hot and couldn't move quickly, Kovarchenko and Touch managed to overtake and planned to ambush the tank from the front. When they were in the best position to shoot, Kovarchenko immediately attacked the tank carrying Mayor Daskell with an RPG. Unfortunately, Kovarchenko only hit the tank's muzzle. Frustrated by failing to destroy Mayor Daskell's tank, Kovarchenko went into a rage, while Mayor Daskell and his 2 subordinates rejoiced as they successfully escaped. Touch immediately prayed to God for help, and suddenly, the unexpected happened. The women dropped large rocks on the tank, but Mayor Daskell kept fighting, shooting in all directions with his tank until the ammunition ran out. At the same time, the tank's tracks were severed. There was nothing they could do. Mayor Daskell and his 2 subordinates could only take cover inside the tank. Kovarchenko threw a Molotov cocktail at the tank, causing Mayor Daskell's tank to catch fire due to the increasing heat inside. Eventually, Mayor Daskell and his 2 subordinates surrendered.
You son of a bitch! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
When Mayor Daskell and his 2 subordinates were about to be executed by the Mujahideen, Kovarchenko uttered the words "Nana Watai," begging for forgiveness for his comrades. This confused Touch because Kovarchenko had been abandoned by his comrades, yet he still wanted to save them. With no other choice, Touch had to respect their customs and grant Kovarchenko's plea for forgiveness. Then, Kovarchenko asked Mayor Daskell and his comrades to leave immediately. However, at the intersection, the Afghan women managed to catch up with Mayor Daskell. Meanwhile, his 2 subordinates successfully escaped. Afterward, Sharina handed Mayor Daskell's blood-stained uniform to Touch and Kovarchenko. At the same time, a Soviet helicopter arrived to pick up Kovarchenko. The Mujahideen and Afghan women hurriedly hid, but Kovarchenko did not join them. Kovarchenko chose to return home with the helicopter. Touch could only watch as Kovarchenko left with the helicopter. 1 year after declaring independence, the Republic of Indonesia engaged in negotiations with the Netherlands to obtain recognition of sovereignty. The negotiations were intense for several months until finally, the Netherlands promised to withdraw their forces. However, 4 months later, the Netherlands violated the agreement and launched a large-scale military aggression, starting with the attack on all air bases in July 1947. At an Air Force base named Maguwo, cadets were busy assembling and cleaning an aircraft named Prince Diponegoro, as President Sukarno was scheduled to visit the base. Shortly after, President Sukarno arrived with General Sudirman and Suryadi Suryadharma, the head of the Indonesian Republic Air Force. President Sukarno came to the base to inspect the readiness of the Prince Diponegoro aircraft. When President Sukarno was about to touch the Prince Diponegoro aircraft, a cadet named Mulyono informed him that the paint on the aircraft had not dried yet. President Sukarno greatly appreciated his action.
Kejujuran itu di atas segalanya. Mohon dicatat.
During a training flight, a cadet named Sigit was suddenly attacked by Dutch aircraft. Fortunately, Sigit managed to survive before his plane crashed and caught fire. Following the attack, the officers of the Indonesian Republic Air Force held a meeting to discuss the Dutch aircraft that had attacked Sigit and also targeted the Maguwo Air Base. Fortunately, all aircraft at the Maguwo Air Base were successfully secured. There was nothing they could do. They could only wait for orders from the Supreme Commander. For now, we wait for orders from the Supreme Commander at the Maguwo Air Base, said Suryadi Suryadharma.
Kita tunggu perintah dari Panglima tertinggi.
Sigit had just awakened from his fainting spell after the previous attack. He then approached his friends who were making a replica fighter plane. The replica aircraft was made to deceive the Dutch so that they would dispose of their ammunition if they attacked again. While the cadets were digging, after successfully making a replica of the fighter plane, the Netherlands attacked the Maguwo Air Base again.
Hit!
After this attack, the cadets were very pleased because the Dutch had disposed of their ammunition. The success of the cadets in deceiving the Dutch was highly appreciated by their commander named Susipto. The cadets were then asked to make another replica aircraft. However, a cadet named AG refused this order. AG really wanted to practice flying aircraft like the pilots, but Susipto insisted that the cadets continue the task he had given them.
Lanjutkan.
Siap!
As he felt that making replicas was not AG's responsibility. AG invited his friends to practice flying the aircraft hidden in the forest. However, Mulyono, who didn't want more trouble, chose not to join. Only Sigit and Harbani joined AG, but when they arrived in the forest, they were caught red-handed by Sergeant Cardi. Sergeant Cardi asked them to continue their task, or they would all be punished. Merdeka, exclaimed AG.
Merdeka.
AG refused to give up and planned to find another hidden aircraft. They resumed their search for another aircraft until they eventually found the Prince Diponegoro aircraft. However, the aircraft couldn't be flown because its fuel pump was damaged. Since the aircraft was a Japanese war loot, they needed to find suitable spare parts from the same type of aircraft to repair it. Sigit remembered finding the wreckage of a Japanese aircraft that seemed similar to the Prince Diponegoro aircraft. They planned to take the fuel pump from Sigit's find to revive the Prince Diponegoro aircraft. So, this type is unparalleled. We can't take it from the Gunte or Hayabusa. If we manage to revive this aircraft, we will have done a great service, said AG.
Ya, jadi jenis ini tidak ada duanya. Tidak mungkin kita ambil dari Guntai maupun Hayabusa.
Kalau kita berhasil menghidupkan kembali pesawat ini, kita akan berjasa.
That night, the three of them sought permission from Commander Susipto to take spare parts from the wreckage of the Japanese aircraft found by Sigit, so the Prince Diponegoro aircraft could be used again. However, Susipto did not permit them because the location was in the Dutch-controlled area. Not willing to give up, AG invited two technicians named Tarjo and Duel to help retrieve spare parts from the wreckage of the Japanese aircraft found by Sigit. The two technicians agreed to assist. AG stated that this mission was a secret mission from Commander Susipto, but this mission was highly confidential.
Tapi Mas, misi ini sangat rahasia Mas.
In the early morning, they began to move to the location of the Japanese aircraft wreckage found by Sigit. Armed with equipment, along the way, they encountered a settlement. Some residents in the settlement had already been slaughtered by the Dutch soldiers, and the rest were suspected to have evacuated elsewhere. After that, they continued their journey until they finally reached the wreckage of the Japanese aircraft found by Sigit. But at the same time, they spotted Dutch soldiers patrolling towards them. With no other choice, they were forced to attack the approaching Dutch soldiers, despite being outnumbered. AG and his friends successfully eliminated the Dutch soldiers. Afterward, they quickly took the necessary spare parts from the wreckage of the Japanese aircraft. However, on the way back to the base, they were ambushed by several Dutch soldiers. When AG and his friends were about to be executed, suddenly General Suderman appeared with his troops, ready to surround the Dutch soldiers. The Dutch soldiers, already encircled, finally surrendered. After that, General Suderman asked his aide to escort AG and his friends back to Maguwo base.
Siap.
Kalian melanjutkan tugas.
Siap.
Suryadi received news that the cadets had caused trouble for General Suderman's troops. Suryadi reprimanded Susipto and asked him to impose sanctions on the guilty cadets for better discipline. Suryadi also ordered Susipto to seek medical assistance in Singapore. Maguwo Air Base would temporarily be led by young Air Commodore Halim Perdana Kusuma.
Izin, Pak.
That night, the cadets and technicians replaced the fuel pump of the Prince Diponegoro aircraft. Finally, the Prince Diponegoro aircraft could be started. They celebrated their success by dancing together in the midst of joy. Susipto and Halim came to punish the cadets. The cadets were given push-up penalties, and whoever lasted the longest had the right to impose penalties on AG. One by one, the cadets began to fall and couldn't endure, until finally, Mulyono was the last one standing. Mulyono asked for AG to be expelled from Maguwo because he had a bad influence on the cadets. However, Susipto rejected Mulyono's request. All cadets would receive the same punishment, not being allowed to fly until graduation.
Semua kadet akan mendapat hukuman yang sama. Semua tetap di sini.
Due to this decision, Mulyono and Harbeni blamed Aji and Sigit. The four of them got involved in a fight, but the commotion stopped when Sergeant Cardi arrived and informed them that they were ordered to move all the aircraft from the forest to the runway because the next day, the Indonesian Air Force would attack the Dutch. The next day, the cadets moved all the aircraft to the runway, but Sergeant Cardi ordered that the Prince Diponegoro aircraft not be moved from its hiding place. After that, Sergeant Cardi left the base. Mulyono and Harbani felt suspicious about Sergeant Cardi's movements. Mulyono invited the cadets to the hiding place of the Prince Diponegoro aircraft. Upon arrival, the cadets saw that the roof of the Prince Diponegoro aircraft had been marked for attack by Dutch planes. The cadets only realized that Sergeant Cardi had become a Dutch spy. Elsewhere, Harbani ambushed Sergeant Cardi and engaged in a one-on-one fight, but due to Sergeant Cardi's superior martial arts skills, Harbani was easily defeated. While the cadets were trying to move the Prince Diponegoro aircraft to a safe place, after losing the fight against Cardi, Harbani came to help his friends move the Prince Diponegoro aircraft. Unfortunately, they were too late as Dutch planes had already attacked the area. Due to the attack, several cadets were injured and passed out, including Mulyono. Unexpectedly, Sergeant Cardi came trying to take Mulyono away from the area, and not long after, the place was attacked again by Dutch planes. As a result of the attack, Sergeant Cardi was killed by bomb fragments, but Mulyono was saved. The Netherlands successfully destroyed all the fighter planes on the runway, including the Prince Diponegoro aircraft. After the attack, Surieti ordered Halim to evacuate Maguwo base and evacuate all the injured.
Membela Maguwo dan tanah air sampai titik darah penghabisan.
Merdeka! Merdeka!
Merdeka!
However, the cadets were determined to retaliate against the Dutch and fight the Dutch to the last drop of blood. The determined cadets then faced Surieti, asking for permission to attack the Dutch using the remaining planes. Halim also argued that the impromptu air attack would make the Dutch think hundreds of times before moving again, and it could boost the morale of the Indonesian army. Hearing this, Surieti allowed the cadets to launch the attack, even though the cadets were still undergoing the punishment of not being allowed to fly.
Halim akan bantu kalian untuk menyiapkan strategi.
Kami siap laksanakan.
That night, Halim explained the attack strategy to the cadets that would be launched in the early morning. Halim ordered the cadets to attack the Dutch weapon and logistics warehouses. In the early morning, Mulyono, Harbani, Aji, and Sigit were ready to carry out the attack mission. Before the cadets left, Surieti said he would wait for them all to return safely. After that, the cadets boarded their respective planes. Unexpectedly, Aji's plane was damaged. Aji could only see off his friends as they took off. After flying for a while, the cadets finally arrived over the Dutch headquarters. The cadets immediately launched an attack on the targeted area. The air attack by the cadets successfully destroyed the Dutch weapon and logistics warehouses. By morning, the cadets returned home safely. News of the air raid by the cadets on the Dutch headquarters also reached President Sukarno and General Suderman. Meanwhile, at Maguwo base, Surieti reassigned the cadets to hide the planes they had used. After hiding all the planes in the forest, Halim assigned the cadets to defend Maguwo base with all their might. "I am proud of all of you," said Halim.
Saya bangga kepada kalian.
Siap! Merdeka! Merdeka!
The air raid on July 29, 1947, was the first air operation in history that declared the existence of the Republic of Indonesia and spread internationally. The bravery of the cadets inspired all the youth in every line to fight to defend independence. Finally, the Dutch military aggression ended on August 5, 1947. A husband and wife found an abandoned baby boy in their backyard. They named the boy Qiao Feng and raised him as their own child. Coincidentally, they had not been blessed with a child of their own. As time passed, Feng grew into a good teenager. Later, Feng's foster parents enrolled him in the Shaolin school to learn Kung Fu. Several years had passed, and Feng had grown into an accomplished Kung Fu warrior. One day, while Feng was dining at a restaurant, a monk and his followers arrived, bringing a cage to the establishment. When the restaurant owner served a meal to the monk, he inquired about the contents of the cage. The monk claimed that it held a young man to be offered as a sacrifice at his grandmaster's tomb. Hearing this, Feng attempted to rescue the young man. To avoid a commotion, Feng tried to negotiate with the monk to release the young man, but the monk refused and insisted on taking him for the sacrifice. With no other choice, Feng had to fight the monk and all his followers. Feng successfully won the battle. After the fight, dozens of prey Shirit on horseback arrived at the restaurant. Recognizing Feng from his martial arts skills, the monk finally realized that Feng was the leader of the Swordsman Union in the Kaiping region, known for their supreme swordsmanship. Afterward, Feng and his followers went to a location to attend a meeting with the leaders of the Swordsman Union in Kaiping. Upon arriving at the meeting place, the leaders immediately accused Feng of being a traitor who had killed the deputy chairman. They claimed that Feng was the perpetrator. Feng, feeling innocent, tried to defend himself, but suddenly, the wife of the deputy chairman came out of her carriage and stated that Feng was indeed the one who killed her husband. She presented a letter written by her late husband, explaining that Feng was not originally from the Kaiping region, but from their region. 30 years ago, the leaders of Kaiping and the leaders of Kaiken were in conflict. Feng's biological parents were also killed by people from the Song region. With this revelation, Feng could pose a significant threat to Kaiping. Facing these accusations, Feng decided to resign from the position of the leader of the Swordsman Union in Kaiping. He was determined to investigate the truth behind the false accusations.
今日对我所有的污蔑，我一定会查明真相。
The next day, Feng visited his foster parents to gather information about his biological parents. Upon reaching their home, Feng found his foster parents already dead. Shortly after, two people arrived at the house, accusing Feng of murdering his foster parents. Feng immediately incapacitated the two and fled. Later, Feng visited the Grandmaster at the Shaolin school, where he had learned Kung Fu in the past, to gather information about his biological parents. There, Feng also found the Grandmaster of the Shaolin school had been killed. Once again, someone saw Feng and accused him of murdering the Grandmaster. As Feng tried to escape from the pursuing Shaolin disciples, he noticed a suspicious disciple entering one of the rooms. Feng immediately chased and caught the person. It turned out that the individual had stolen a Shaolin Inner Power Manual. Shortly after, the Shaolin Master and disciples found Feng in the room. Once again, Feng was accused of stealing the Shaolin Manual. A Shaolin Master attacked Feng with his inner power. Due to the attack, the captured disciple also suffered. However, it turned out that the Shaolin disciple was a woman in disguise. Not wanting to harm the Shaolin disciples, Feng fled, taking the woman with him. In his hiding place, Feng tried to heal the woman using his inner power. She was severely injured from the Shaolin Master's attack. After treating the woman, Feng asked her who she was and why she stole the Shaolin Manual. The woman confessed that her name was Azhu, and she only wanted to borrow the Shaolin Manual to study it. Since Feng had caused Azhu to get hurt, he didn't want to leave her alone. Feng planned to take Azhu to the skilled healer, who was also a senior member of the Kaiping swordsmen, for treatment as Azhu's injuries were quite deep. They spent the night there. The next day, Feng took Azhu to Kaipang to meet the skilled healer. However, during the journey, Azhu's condition worsened. Feng could only channel his inner power to help Azhu endure. Feng decided to stop for a moment and care for Azhu until her condition improved slightly. Elsewhere, the Kaipang swordsmen gathered and planned to kill Feng, uniting because they knew Feng's martial arts skills were terrifying. However, Feng came to the place to meet the skilled healer. Fearlessly, Feng entered the gathering place and was immediately confronted by the swordsman. When meeting the skilled healer named Su, Feng pleaded for Su to treat Azhu. Su refused because Feng was already considered a major criminal. However, Su agreed to treat Azhu if Feng would fight the swordsman. Reluctantly, Feng complied with the conditions. Before the fight, they agreed to face each other without any brotherly ties. After the agreement, Feng fought against the swordsman. In the midst of the battle, the wife of the deputy chairman of the Swordsman Union, Kaipang, took Azhu hostage and threatened to kill her. Seeing this, Feng rushed to save Azhu. When successfully approaching Azhu, Feng was stabbed from behind by Su, who still had some remaining inner power. With the remaining strength, Feng rose again and continued to fight until the last drop of blood. Seeing Feng helpless, the swordsman immediately attacked him. Feng kept trying to resist the swordsman with the strength he had left. However, in the midst of the battle, a mysterious swordsman helped Feng and took him away. The deputy chairman's wife intended to kill Azhu, but Su, the healer, stopped her actions. Su said that Azhu would be treated because Feng had fulfilled his conditions. All the accusations and problems Feng faced originated from the Yan Kingdom, led by a man named Murong. Murong was the mastermind behind all the issues Feng experienced. Murong was tasked by his father to destroy the martial arts world to restore the glory of the Yan Kingdom. Because Feng, the most skilled swordsman, Murong intentionally manipulated Feng and the Kaipang swordsman to turn against each other, hoping the Kaipang swordsman would kill Feng. Several days passed, and Azhu finally fully recovered. Azhu planned to escape by disguising herself as Su, the healer. With her disguise, Azhu successfully deceived the guards. When Azhu met the real Su, she immediately strangled him and stabbed him. After that, Azhu set the place on fire and escaped. Elsewhere, Feng had also recovered. Feng thanked the mysterious swordsman who had helped him. Then, the mysterious swordsman left abruptly. The next day, Feng visited Su's residence to pick up Azhu. However, upon arrival, Feng saw that Su's residence had already burned down. Shortly after, Murong appeared with a sudden attack from behind. Feng already knew Murong as a famous swordsman known for sudden attacks. Murong talked to Feng about the internal problems of the Kaipang Swordsman Union and invited Feng to join him. However, Feng firmly rejected Murong's invitation. Then, Murong informed Feng of Azhu's whereabouts, revealing that Azhu was a former servant of the kingdom. Finally, Feng and Azhu reunited. Because they loved each other, they promised to always be together and leave the martial arts world after learning about their parents and respective identities. That night, Azhu disguised herself as the deputy chairman's wife and met one of the Kaipang leaders. From that meeting, Azhu obtained information about the name and whereabouts of the murderer of Feng's biological parents. The next day, Feng and Zhu went to the place where the murderer of Feng's biological parents was located. However, on the way, they encountered a family quarrel.
王爷，
The person Feng had helped approached him and expressed gratitude. The person introduced himself to Feng, revealing that he was Duan, the one who had killed Feng's biological parents. According to information from the leader, Duan invited Feng and Zhu to visit his house. However, Feng refused and stated that he would meet Duan that night. Sometime later, Zhu infiltrated Duan's residence and overheard their conversation. Duan and his wife were arguing. From their conversation, Zhu learned that they had another adopted daughter who had been given to someone else. Zhu realized that the adopted daughter they mentioned was herself. Zhu didn't know whether to feel happy or sad because the parents she had been searching for turned out to be the ones who killed her biological parents.
你鬼鬼祟祟的干什么？
That night, Feng visited Duan's son and informed him that his father would be killed that night. If Duan's son wanted to seek revenge later, Feng would be willing to wait. Then, Feng went to meet Zhu first on their ship. But Duan was already there and said that Zhu had been secured. Without hesitation, Feng immediately attacked him with his internal strength techniques. Feng was surprised to see that the person he hit was actually Zhu. Zhu intentionally disguised herself to save her adoptive father. After Feng rescued the submerged Zhu, she explained to Feng that Duan was her biological father. Unfortunately, Feng's internal strength blow was too strong, and Zhu couldn't withstand the injury. Feng brought Zhu's body to her adoptive parents and explained everything. Zhu's mother cried and regretted after learning everything, as did Aji, Zhu's adoptive sister. Duan then explained to Feng everything that had happened 30 years ago. It was revealed that Murong, the leader of the Yan Kingdom, intended to eliminate the Lord by framing Feng and exploiting Feng's power. After learning everything, Feng hurriedly left to retaliate against those who had made him suffer. Feng went to Ba's residence and intended to eliminate Bai because Ba had conspired with Murong. Suddenly, Aji appeared while beating the deputy chairman's wife. Feng immediately kicked Ba until he was thrown outside. Murong had arrived with his troops. Instead of helping, Murong ordered his men to kill Ba. Shortly after, Feng appeared and immediately fought Murong. While Murong's men tried to kill Aji, Feng rushed to help Aji, who was under attack. After Feng successfully helped Aji, she gave Feng her father's heirloom sword. Then, they both together eliminated Murong's men in the midst of the battle. Murong appeared and attacked. Feng finally won the battle. Shortly after, the Kaipang swordsman arrived at the scene. The Kaipang swordsman, who now knew the truth, finally followed Feng again. Murong was helped by the mysterious swordsman who had helped Feng before. It turned out that the mysterious swordsman was Murong's father. Murong's father intentionally isolated himself for 30 years, hoping that his son could destroy the martial arts world and revive his kingdom. But in the end, Murong failed to achieve his goal. A few days later, Feng visited the place where his biological parents were killed. Shortly after, Murong's father appeared there. Murong's father confessed that he was the one who killed Feng's biological parents. Feng would fight to the death to avenge the death of his parents. This film, released in 2017, tells the story of a young American seeking revenge against terrorists who killed his girlfriend. To carry out his mission, he willingly joins their terrorist network. Due to his actions, he is recruited by the CIA to become a special forces operative and eliminate other terrorists. How does the story unfold? Let's find out together.
Beautiful sand. Here we are in beautiful Ibiza, Spain.
An American man named Rap and his girlfriend, Katrina, are vacationing on a beach in Spain. During this time, Rap proposes to Katrina to be his wife. After being together for a long time, after proposing to his girlfriend, Rap buys drinks feeling thirsty. While ordering drinks, a group of terrorists led by a man named Adnan attacks the beach. Amidst the attack, Rap continues to search for his girlfriend. Rap also gets shot, but he keeps trying to find his girlfriend until Adnan shoots Katrina right in front of Rap. "18 months after the incident on the beach, Rap plans to join Adnan's group, the terrorist organization that killed his girlfriend. Rap intends to avenge Katrina. Rap also trains his fighting skills at an MMA training facility, but in each training session, Rap can control his emotions. Since Rap communicated with the terrorist group, all of Rap's movements have been monitored by the CIA. The CIA knows that Rap is planning something. While practicing his shooting skills, Rap also cannot control his emotions and shoots at someone else's shooting board. In the evening, Adnan's group asks Rap to come to their headquarters the next day. The next day, Rap immediately goes to Adnan's headquarters. When Rap meets one of Adnan's henchmen, Rap is asked to take off his glasses. From those glasses, Rap takes out a small knife. After that, Rap is taken to meet Adnan. When they are interrogating Rap, secretly Rap starts to loosen his restraints with the small knife he brought. When Adnan comes to meet Rap, CIA agents suddenly slaughter them all. Seeing Adnan dead not by his hands, Rap feels very disappointed and vents his anger by stabbing the already dead Adnan.
He's dead.
After that, Rap is interrogated at the CIA headquarters. Irene, the deputy director of the CIA Counterterrorism Division, is interested in recruiting Rap as a member to complete a larger mission. It turns out Rap is also interested in joining the CIA. Elsewhere, the CIA receives information from one of its agents that plutonium engineered at a nuclear facility in Russia has been stolen. If the thieves find the nuclear trigger and a physicist who can develop it, they could turn it into a weapon ready to be detonated anytime.
If they get their hands on a nuclear trigger and a physicist to build it, they'd be able to arm it and detonate it.
The next day, Rap was taken to the CIA agent training facility in a forest. Rap will be trained by a man named Harley Stan, a former U.S. Navy soldier. Upon arrival at Stan's headquarters, Rap was immediately welcomed by Stan, who said that the selection process he would undergo would be very tough. If Rap is not interested, he is welcome to leave right away. However, Rap instead asked Stan to train him immediately so that Stan could assess whether he was worthy or not to pass the selection process. Then, Rap trained alongside other members. They were given training in silent killing techniques. After that, Rap was asked to fight against a member named Victor. With his skills, Rap was able to quickly defeat Victor. Meanwhile, at the Iranian embassy in London, Irene and her superiors met with Iranian Defense Minister Baris and Iranian General Rostami. The CIA received information about Iran's involvement in the case of the missing plutonium in Russia. However, Baris denied and insisted that Iran was not involved at all in the case of the missing plutonium in Russia.
I only wish we could offer more insight.
Thank you.
That night, while sleeping, Rapp and the others were surprised by Stan's subordinates who tested their readiness when attacked while sleeping. Then, they were asked to get ready in 30 seconds for training. Rapp and the others were trained in a simulation room. They were asked to remember the faces of the targets they had to take down. If they shot the wrong target or were shot by the target, they would receive an electric shock from a device attached to their bodies. Initially, Rapp managed to disable his targets, but when Stan used Adnan's face to test Rapp, Rapp instantly couldn't control his emotions and kept shooting at the figure of Adnan. Although his body received electric shocks, the other members could not withstand the electric shocks, but Rapp managed to endure and kept shooting at the figure of Adnan. In Poland, a man named Roni is trading stolen raw plutonium with 3 Russians. But in the middle of the transaction, 2 policemen suspected their activities in the car and immediately checked them. Inside the car, Roni immediately killed the 2 policemen and the 3 Russians. In the midst of chaos, Roni left the scene. At his headquarters, Stan saw the news on TV about Roni's shooting in Poland. Seeing that, Stan was surprised because Stan knew Roni. The next day, Stan was asked to meet Iron. Iron told Stan that there had been a theft of 15 kilograms of plutonium from one of Russia's nuclear facilities. Then, Stan showed Roni's photo to Irene via his phone. Stan believed that Roni was involved in the plutonium sale transaction. It turns out that Roni is a former Navy soldier and the best CIA agent ever trained by Stan. Irene asked Stan to lead a mission to Istanbul, Turkey, to capture Hamdi Sharif, an arms supplier from outside Turkey. Irene believed that Hamdi was involved in the plutonium transaction because Hamdi was previously known to have bought Russian-made nuclear triggers. Stan would be sent to Istanbul and would meet with a CIA agent there named Annika. Irene wanted Stan to bring Rapp into his team.
I want Rapp on the team.
Very well be.
After that, Stan returned to his headquarters and called Rapp. Stan played a video recording of Rapp proposing to Katrina. Because of that, Rapp got angry and immediately attacked Stan, but Stan instantly managed to disable Rapp and warned Rapp not to bring personal problems during the mission. Stan said that Rapp would be brought on the mission to capture Hamdi. The next day, Stan, Rapp, and Victor arrived in Istanbul, Turkey, and were picked up by Annika. After that, Stan assigned Rapp and Annika to spy on Hamdi, who was with his assistant at the time. Rapp took the initiative to move on his own by bumping into Hamdi's assistant and taking his phone. After that, they returned to the YOI headquarters in Istanbul. Stan scolded Rapp for moving beyond his orders. However, from the phone, they could find out that the next day, Hamdi would attend a meeting at a restaurant at 11 in the morning. After that, Stan assigned tasks to his team members. The next day, Rapp and Annika observed from a distance, while Victor would enter the restaurant. Stan secured the restaurant area and drove away Hamdi's guards by threatening one of the soldiers to order his colleagues to return to their headquarters. After that, Rapp moved into the restaurant. Inside the restaurant, Hamdi was conducting a transaction with Roni. When Roni saw Victor, he realized that Victor was a CIA agent and immediately killed Victor. Rapp immediately reported to Stan that the target had disappeared and Victor was dead. Stan immediately ordered the mission to be stopped, but unexpectedly, Rapp acted on his own, taking Hamdi's assistant hostage and asking him to follow wherever Hamdi went. Upon reaching Hamdi's apartment, Rapp let Hamdi's assistant live and left him. Rapp infiltrated Hamdi's apartment, where Hamdi was with an entertainer and his henchmen. After eliminating Hamdi's henchmen, Rapp immediately took down Hamdi and seized Hamdi's laptop. After that, Rapp returned to the CIA headquarters. Stan scolded Rapp for acting beyond his orders. At the same time, Irene arrived at the scene. After checking Hamdi's laptop brought by Rapp, they found Roni's data on the laptop. Roni betrayed them because when Roni was captured during a mission, Stan abandoned him. For Stan, if a CIA agent is captured, there will be no one to rescue them, even if they are the best agents. For that reason, Roni betrayed them. They also got information that $2 million was transferred to a bank account in Rome. Irene also confirmed that Roni had successfully taken the nuclear trigger from Hamdi and would assemble the nuclear weapon at home with a physicist.
Cash prep for withdrawal.
Rome.
Meanwhile, near a housing project in Rome, in a secret location, Barris met Roni. This place was Roni's base for assembling the nuclear weapon. It turns out Barris was the one who paid Roni to carry out the nuclear assembly project. Barris's goal is to destroy the state of Israel, while Stan and others were already in Rome, monitoring the bank that Hamdi had transferred to. When they received information that the money transferred by Hamdi had been withdrawn, they immediately followed the person who withdrew the money. That person was the nuclear physicist paid by Roni. They followed the physicist to a hotel. Rapp and Annika stayed in the room next to the physicist to monitor his movements. Meanwhile, Stan waited outside the hotel, waiting for information from Rapp. But Roni's henchmen realized that the physicist was being watched by the CIA, so they immediately ambushed and captured Rapp and Annika. Roni interrogated Rapp and Annika, asking about Stan's whereabouts. Meanwhile, outside, Stan began to suspect because Rapp hadn't given him any information. Then, Stan entered Rapp's room and immediately eliminated all of Roni's henchmen, but Roni managed to escape through the window. Afterward, they captured the physicist and interrogated him. The physicist said he was only following Roni's orders. Rapp, knowing that Roni was very ambitious to capture Stan, then asked if there was a personal matter between Stan and Roni. But Stan only replied that Roni was currently assembling a nuclear weapon, and Stan asked Rapp to clean himself up.
Clean yourself up.
When Rapp cleaned himself up, he saw the news on TV that the President of the United States had ordered the 6th Fleet of the United States Navy to leave its headquarters in Italy. Annika approached Rapp and helped treat his wounds. After treating the wounds, Annika asked Rapp to rest and said that they would hunt down Roni the next day. Hearing this, Rapp immediately became suspicious of Annika because only Rapp and Stan knew about Roni from the friendly side. Rapp immediately apprehended Annika, suspecting that she was an Iranian spy. After interrogating Annika, they obtained information that Annika was indeed an Iranian spy, and her superior was Annika's own uncle, who happened to be an old friend of Stan. After that, Stan met Annika's uncle. Annika's uncle explained that the mastermind behind the nuclear assembly was Barris and Rostami. They paid Roni to ensure that their plan would not be suspected by the CIA. He also mentioned that Annika had tracked Barris's movements through her phone, and at that moment, Barris was in Rome. In the midst of their conversation, they didn't realize that Roni was already spying on them from a distance. Roni immediately killed Annika's uncle and captured Stan. Irene, who had just arrived at the CIA headquarters, asked her subordinates to bring Annika immediately. At the same time, Irene's subordinate reported that Annika's uncle was found dead and Stan couldn't be contacted. Hearing this, Irene asked Rapp to go home because the mission would be taken over by a joint CIA team. But Rapp didn't follow orders and immediately moved to free Annika so she could help him find Stan.
I need your help.
Elsewhere, Roni expressed his disappointment to Stan for leaving him when he was caught first. Roni underwent torture when captured and blamed Stan for everything. Because of that, Roni betrayed his country and began taking dirty jobs. But Stan said that Roni's capture was his own fault for not listening to his orders. After that, Roni began torturing Stan by pulling out Stan's nails, so Stan would reveal the whereabouts of his team. At that moment, because Stan's team would surely thwart his plans, Stan kept silent. When Roni got too close to Stan, Stan bit Roni's ear. At the same time, Barris asked Roni to finish his personal matters quickly because Roni's mission was completed. Unexpectedly, Roney immediately shot Barris and all his henchmen. Roney intended to use the nuclear weapon to destroy the Sixth Fleet of the United States Navy, which had left its headquarters in Italy. Roney deliberately did not kill Stan so he could witness his prowess in destroying the U.S. Navy fleet.
You're gonna live to see the crown of your creation, Stan.
Rapp and Annika managed to reach Roney's headquarters after tracking Barris's phone location, and Annika managed to pass through the locked iron gate. But Rapp's large body couldn't fit through. Rapp asked for permission to enter first because he would disable Roney's henchmen who were getting closer. Inside, Annika met the dying Barris. Annika immediately finished off Barris. Hearing the gunshots from Annika, all of Roney's henchmen immediately searched for the source of the sound. Realizing that Annika was in danger, Rapp took his car and broke in. After successfully entering, Rapp immediately rescued Stan. Stan asked Rapp to capture Roney immediately because Roney left with a nuclear bomb ready to detonate. Meanwhile, at the CIA headquarters, they captured explosion signals from where Rapp was located. Irene ordered her team to evacuate.
Delta 1, go!
Let's go.
Get a chopper out there.
Rapp managed to find Roney trying to leave the place by holding Annika hostage. Roney asked Rapp to drop his weapon if he wanted Annika to stay alive, but unexpectedly, Annika chose to shoot herself. Roney managed to escape with a small boat. Rapp immediately chased and jumped onto Roney's boat. On the boat, Rapp and Roney fought. Meanwhile, Irene received news from the evacuated Stan that the nuclear bomb about to explode was on the boat used by Roney. Stan also said that Roney intended to destroy the Sixth Fleet of the United States Navy. Irene then contacted the CIA headquarters and the Sixth Fleet to ask them to be on alert against the small boat carrying the nuclear bomb. While on the boat, Rapp successfully subdued Roney and killed him. Then, Stan asked Rapp to throw the bomb into the sea to minimize the explosion. Rapp quickly threw the nuclear bomb into the ocean. Irene asked the Sixth Fleet to stand down because Rapp had already disposed of the nuclear bomb into the sea. After that, Rapp was taken up by a helicopter, and shortly afterward, the nuclear bomb exploded. After the explosion, the commander of the Sixth Fleet reported to the CIA that they were okay and the radiation caused by the nuclear bomb was very low because it exploded in the sea. Sometime after the incident, Irene met Stan at the American Military Hospital. There, they saw the news on TV that Rostemi claimed to have evidence of a secret CIA assassination team responsible for the recent nuclear incident. Rostemi also said that he was participating in the upcoming presidential election. Rostemi was fully supported to restart Iran's nuclear program and intended to destroy America. But when Rostemi was in the elevator, someone was already there.
You're gonna get behind us! Fall back onto the track! Back then! Onto the track!
Jack.
now. Many of us are exhausted to the point of collapse.
In 1942, relentlessly, Japan attacked the Southeast Asian region, including Australia, which was an ally of America. America, focused on Pearl Harbor and the Philippines at that time, couldn't assist Australia. Many Australian forces were besieged by Japanese forces, and fewer than 10,000 Japanese troops followed the footsteps of the Australian forces from Kokoda under their new colonel's command. The Australian troops headed towards Isurafa village, and after 2 weeks there, many of them died from exhaustion and even starvation. One Australian soldier from the 39th Battalion, named Jack, was running to find his brother named Max. Shortly after, Jack found his brother being carried on a stretcher and severely injured.
Jack.
It turned out that Jack was just having a nightmare. Later, Jack and the Australian soldiers from the 39th Battalion were informed by their comrade that their captain ordered them to patrol the front lines. They prepared all their weapons and hastily set out. After traveling quite a distance, they finally reached the front lines. There, they observed every corner of the area because it was known that Japanese soldiers roamed the forest. When the captain was surveying the surrounding area with his binoculars,
You're gonna get behind us! Go back up to the truck! Back then! Up to the truck!
as the direction of the attacks was unknown, the Australian soldiers chose to retreat and return to a safe path. Unfortunately, one Australian soldier got separated from the group. Feeling safe, the Australian soldier tried to leave his hiding place, because one of the soldiers named Barky had a severely injured leg. They took shelter behind a fallen tree trunk. Jack contacted the headquarters with a communication radio and reported that their captain had been killed, and now their situation was dire. They were surrounded by Japanese soldiers in the forest. However, in the middle of the conversation, the communication radio suddenly went off due to signal interference. Now they all had to struggle against the Japanese soldiers without any reinforcements. Shortly after, they realized that one soldier named Blue was separated from them. Jack and Darko, who was a senior soldier, finally decided to look for Blue. Before going to find Blue, Jack instructed his brother Max and other soldiers to go to Isurafa village first, and they would follow there. Shortly after, Jack and Darko managed to find Blue. However, from a distance, they saw Blue being tortured by Japanese soldiers until Blue met a gruesome end. As Jack and Darko hurriedly moved away from there, they encountered a soldier named Daniel, but not long after, an unexpected event occurred.
Templeton got back to Isurafa. We're cut off.
With caution, Jack and Darko continued to walk through the forest, searching for the whereabouts of Max and the others. However, until morning came, they still hadn't found Max and the other soldiers. While drinking at a river, they finally met Max and the other soldiers. Then, they all took a brief rest in the forest. Darko informed them that Blue and Daniel had died. After that, they resumed their journey towards Isurafa village. The terrain in the forest was extremely challenging, and with great struggle, they kept moving. Until, in the middle of the journey, they encountered a soldier resting. Max thought the soldier was their comrade. Max got shot in the stomach, making him unable to stand anymore. They had to carry Max on a stretcher through various difficult terrains to reach Isurafa village. Finally, they found some deserted local houses. They decided to rest in that house and treat Max's wounds. While treating Max, Darko asked Jack to leave Max, considering that Max wouldn't survive and would only be a burden. Jack got angry hearing that, and they got into an argument. However, Max confirmed Darko's words, asking them to leave him, and they could send troops to pick him up later. Hearing that, Jack decided to stay with Max, feeling that sooner or later, he would also be killed by the Japanese soldiers. Reluctantly, Jack complied with his brother's request. After that, Jack and the others hurriedly left to continue the journey to Isurafa village. On the way, they encountered 2 Japanese soldiers on guard. While hiding, Darko decided to kill the 2 Japanese soldiers. The next morning, they met the Australian soldiers from the 16th Battalion. Jack informed them that there were still 2 of their comrades left in the forest and still alive. Turning to Max and John, when John was giving Max a drink, they heard the sound of Japanese soldiers coming to that place. John diverted the attention of the Japanese soldiers, but while hiding, John was ambushed by the Japanese soldiers, while Max prepared with his weapon. Jack and the others finally arrived at a place called Alola, where many wounded Australian soldiers were treated. In that place, Jack and Darko decided to join the Australian soldiers who still wanted to fight against the Japanese soldiers. They took positions in the previously dug defensive trenches to protect the place from Japanese soldiers' attacks. Until night, Jack and the other soldiers continued to guard the defensive trenches. After a long time, finally, the Japanese soldiers began to attack the place. Many Australian soldiers died in that battle, including their comrade, Barky. However, their sacrifices were not in vain because, in the end, they managed to defeat the Japanese soldiers there.
Now, I don't know a lot of you by name. Your gallantry, your courage, but you are some of the finest soldiers I have ever seen. For history will remember you. Now we are relieved, and we will leave the battle.
In the end of the movie, it is seen that Max was successfully rescued and carried on a stretcher to Isurafa village with them. That's the story of the struggle of Australian soldiers defending against Japanese soldiers' attacks in New Guinea. From this movie, we can learn not to venture into the forest carelessly, especially spreading mats or newspapers in the bushes. Undesirable things are bound to happen. Thank you to those who watched, And don't forget to like and share with your friends or family. See you in the next video.